From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
Welcome back to the podcast studio in Raytown, Missouri. I'm Dale Carter. He is Kurt Wheeler, and I'm wearing one of my favorite T-shirts. I got my Ronald Reagan old school conservative from 1980 T-shirt on.
I see that.
Yeah. He was the first president I voted for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very proud of that.
Not alive.
I am aware you weren't. So I've lived a little bit. I'm not as old as Bob Watson, but Bob Watson has been taking care of folks in the Blue Springs area, actually on both sides of the state line, for over 50 years. He's been a State Farm agent.
I'd say congratulations.
Yeah, we have a big party for him. I wanted him to come to my campaign kickoff, but he travels so much, he's not going to be in town for the campaign kickoff. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But you have needs. You have needs for insurance, for your car, your home, your life, all kinds of, maybe your business too. Get a quote from Bob Watson. You'll find that State Farm rates are very competitive, and unlike those fly-by-night insurance companies, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Bundle your home and car insurance and save. You'll find that Bob has a tremendous staff ready to take your call. They've been taking my calls for 30 years, and some of those have been very tense phone calls, especially back when I had that run where I got tickets all the time. I got called to the principal's office, and Bob let me have it. With both barrels. He's not shy about that. When you need to hear that, he'll tell you that. 816-229-7878. Let Bob Watson get on the case for your insurance. And again, licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. His office is at 7th and Main in Blue Springs. We ask you to help us spread the word in this crazy world that we're living in. And it's not getting less crazy. I think if anything, it's getting crazier. In the last weeks and months. The news cycle is spinning fast. Kurt, how can they jump on board here with Dale Carter's America?
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble for the video podcast, you are subscribed. Drop a like, drop a comment. It all helps with the algorithm. Share the link with your friends. You can find the audio-only podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure to join on Facebook and join in the conversation. Follow us on Facebook.
Get the video, because we have a lot of videos that we show, and it's a lot of fun.
I combed my hair today.
Yeah, so. You look good. Yeah. And you wouldn't see my Ronald Reagan shirt. Should it bother me that I can't see myself on the mirror, that all I see is a deer?
It should bother you, and now it doesn't.
Oh, see, because then I would say, I'm a little wrinkled there in my shirt. I got to stretch that out a little bit. Sit up straight. Reagan was wrinkled enough without wrinkling the shirt on top of it. All right, so the official launch for the campaign, my campaign for Jackson County Legislature, is fast approaching. It will be Tuesday, October 28th at the Funhouse Pizza location in Blue Springs on 7 Highway. It's going to be a fun night. We're going to combine the podcast and the kickoff for the campaign. I believe we're going to have a big crowd there that night, and Jim Dingman's got a pizza special going for that night. A large pizza, 2 drinks, $20.26. And some of that money is going to go to the campaign to pay for things like signs and digital advertising, all the things we're going to need to be successful next year in my run for Jackson County Legislature. If you want to volunteer for the campaign, we'd love to sign you up. I'm going to need folks to drive me around. We're going to need door knockers. We're going to go into different towns because the 5th District is a lot bigger than Blue Springs. It's Grain Valley, Oak Grove, Buckner, Levisay, a little bit of Independence. So that's kind of like the general area of where we're going to be. We'll be going into neighborhoods and knocking on doors. So we're going to need your help for the campaign as well. We'll have some special guests that night. Going to need a lot of help to pull this off and make a difference for our county. Also, I'll be making some speeches coming up. And we covered this the last week, but we have different people who come in and out of the podcast. So I want to make sure everybody who's interested might want to be there. The Republican Pachyderm Club, they will meet at V's in Independence on 40 Highway. That is a noon meeting on October 21st. And then I know a group that you like a lot is We the People, and I haven't been to one of their meetings yet, but I'm going to go and be a featured speaker at their meeting on November 3rd at Lake Lotawana. That is at 7 o'clock. So help us out there. spreading the message that I'm in this thing to represent Eastern Jackson County, getting our tax assessments under control. That is the big issue. That's why Frank White was recalled. He'd like to say that it was about the stadium issue. It was not. You ask any taxpayer in Jackson County, and it's all about the tax assessments. I want to lower property taxes. You know, it's a math thing. If I tell you that your home value, Kurt, has gone up exponentially, doesn't it make sense for me to lower your tax rate? Right? Mm-hmm. Rather than just keep milking you for all the tax revenue that I can. Right. We need to lower property taxes. We got to find a way to eliminate them, at least for retirees, in a revenue neutral kind of a way. Maybe there's a sales tax that takes the place of it so that you've made a decision to buy something that you're taxed on, not something that you already own. And you end up paying off your house, you end up renting it from the county. I don't think that's fair. And I think there are some folks in the state legislature who agree with me. You'll meet some of them at my kickoff event on October the 28th. Since we last were with you, our friend of this podcast, Phil LeVota, has been named interim executive, several-time guest on this podcast. You like him, right?
Yeah, he seemed nice enough to me. I mean, I don't know him nearly as well as you do, but
had to be a Democrat per the charter because the Democrats held that seat. And you're seeing a little bit of Phil LeVota there on the video rollout. He's a smart guy, and he's like me. I like to think of myself as a pragmatic problem solver. I don't think I'm ideological a lot. I think if the two of us, if we laid out our resume, I think you're more ideological than I am. Would you agree?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It depends on how you define that, but maybe.
On the issue, probably. Whatever issue it might be. I like to think of myself as a pragmatic problem solver. I've been a manager in the radio business for over 40 years, and trust me, that comes with a lot of problems. And when the problem comes, it's like, okay, what's the best solution for this? How do we move forward? And I think that's what Phil LeVota is going to do, because he's going to walk into a freaking mess. I mean, it's been a mess. Frank White wasn't even doing the job. Let's don't be nice about this. He was not doing the job. They hired somebody to do the job for him, and they were paying him six figures to do Frank's job. So Frank was nothing more than a figurehead. He wasn't even going to the legislature meetings anymore. So Phil will get in there, and he's got an ambitious checklist here that he wants to get going here. He's got a tax assessment relief plan that he will unveil next week. I can't wait to see that. I hope he's finally going to get his arms around this thing and work with the existing legislature to make it happen, right? He's also going to address the jail issue. How many times have we talked about that? My mind was blown when Channel 5 ran that story that someone was assaulted near the Kansas City Star building, and they took his ass to jail, found out he had outstanding warrants, and the jail goes, "We're full. Sorry."
Yeah. Didn't you talk to him about that specifically? Or was that somebody else? I don't remember. I know you talked to Manny about it, but maybe you talked to him about it specifically too.
No, I don't remember talking to him about that.
Oh, okay.
But I was working behind the scenes to try and get him this job, so I feel pretty good about that.
Nice. There you go.
He's also going to talk about the stadium issue. He'd like to get his arms around that as well. So he's got a ticking clock here, and he's already said he will not run for the position. So he is in there through January 1st of 2027. So a little over a year to try and work with that legislature and get some things done and clean up some messes in that courthouse. It proves that most of our issues in Jackson County are not red and blue, because I think I'm a fairly conservative guy, and Phil ran the Democrat Party in Jackson County at one point. So he is a Democrat at his core. When we had him on, we went through a list of things. We had him on right after Trump was inaugurated. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And he said, I want to give the guy a chance, but I do have some concerns down the road. And we should. I mean, we shouldn't all agree on everything, right? Republicans and Democrats, it's okay to disagree. What's not okay is to demonize the other person and, make them feel like shit about themselves. That's not okay.
Yeah.
Right?
He's certainly very diplomatic. That was the impression that I got from him.
And it's going to take a diplomat to get some of this stuff done. So our issues are not necessarily red and blue. I've had conversations with Manny Abarca. We can talk about different things, about just competence and green issues. And when I say green, I'm not talking about global warming and climate change. I'm talking about money, because this is all about money in the end. Trust me on that, because the economic center of Jackson County has moved away from Kansas City. Yet Kansas City is the biggest city involved here. I just read today that Kansas City, Missouri is like $100 million behind in revenue. Wow. Ouch. How are they going to make that up? You know what they're thinking? They're thinking that, oh, wow, we just had this assessment thing, and you people in eastern Jackson County, your houses are worth a lot more, so we're going to get even more tax revenue, and guess where it's going to go? It's not going to go in the unincorporated areas of the county or the eastern suburbs. We're going to suck all that into the city center.
Yeah, they have their projects.
Yeah, they definitely have that. So that's why I'm running, because I want to, I'm running to represent Eastern Jackson County. It's like, what's in this for us? I've asked Jeannie Lauer this. Jeannie has that seat now that I'm running for. I said, what in the world is the benefit of us being in Jackson County? You know what she said? There isn't one. There isn't one.
Bad answer.
Yeah, and she's represented Eastern Jackson County for 2 terms now. What is she doing to help? You know what she did at the vote for Phil LeVota? She voted for tar water. She was one of 4 votes that went against Phil LeVota. And it was clear in the 3-hour meeting, if you want to really, if you want to bore yourself to tears, look it up on the Jackson County website. It was a 3-hour meeting, and they talked to all of these people. And it was clear, night and day, that Phil LeVota was the best, most qualified, with a plan of what he was going to do on day one for this job. And she joined with the Frank Four, as they call them, to vote for tar water. But thank God there were 5 of them, Republicans and Democrats, who came together and saw that Phil LeVota was the guy to get it done. So I'm rooting for him. And he says he's not going to run again. So if I won, he and I would not be working together. But I think the world of him. I think he's qualified to clean it up. So I'll pray for him. Meanwhile, I need more than your prayers. I need your support, because, Jeannie has been very clear with me that she's sitting on a $50,000 nest egg there in her campaign account, and we're not quite there yet. We're getting there. The 28th is going to help us, and then we'll be doing a lot of events designed to raise money and awareness and get votes. If you want to help, you can help. Go to dalecarter.us. That is the website for the campaign. Kind of lays out in the broad strokes what I'm looking at doing here. And then we'll have some events where we can have give and take and conversations and all that. But money is the key issue early in a campaign. So if you can help us out, please help us out. And I guarantee you, if I get in there, number one, you won't have to have a recall vote, because I will know fairly early on, if I win, whether or not this was worth it to begin with. If we can come together and come to some solution that has the suburbs coexisting with the city and not feeling like the suburbs are being raped and we're your bank and all that kind of stuff, I'll know fairly early on in that. And if I feel like I can't make a difference, I'm not doing this to be on the next rung of a ladder of a campaign. I'm not a career politician, have no desire to be a career politician. So you won't have to recall me. I won't run again. That'll be that simple. And then if I feel that way, we'll get on the other side of it, and it'll be like, I tried. Now we really need our own county. Let's push the gas down on that. So I'm going in there with great intentions in order to try and fix the problems. But if they can't be fixed because they are so dysfunctional, there is another option out there, and I'm not going to be shy about pulling that. So to be continued on that. Something else to be continued. I saw something on the news today that the average new car price for the first time ever in the United States, the average new car price is now $50,000.
Wow.
Seriously. I mean, that takes in the very lowest level new car you can get all the way up to the most expensive, but the average now is $50K.
That's crazy.
So you know what that means?
That was a house 10 years ago.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Well, you know I'm old, but my first house I bought was $27,000.
I mean, it wasn't a great house 10 years ago, but it was a house 10 years ago for sure.
So, yeah, exactly. So what that means is more people are keeping their existing vehicles. And if you're going to do that, you got to keep them in shape. If you take care of your car will take care of you. And if you go to my friends at Christian Brothers Automotive in Independence, you get Tim Porter, who I love. Tim Porter is just a salt of the earth guy. When you talk to him, you know he's all about family and going to church, God-fearing man, and they take real care of your car. And he stands behind the work that they do. 3 years, 36,000-mile warranty, whichever benefits you the most. Isn't that great? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they work on everything. I've gone through a whole list of everything they work on. I can't find a car that they don't work on, including hybrids and electric vehicles. They've got 40-plus current certifications in the shop. It's very clean, and when you check in, you're going to get a text that's going to tell you everything you need. You're going to get a diagnostic with pictures. Even for dumb people like me who don't know anything about their car, they take care of you and hold your hand through the process. What you need to do is get an appointment. 816-675-4587. If you're ready for your next oil change, let these guys do it. Get your foot in the door and let them show you how they can take care of your car better than anybody else in the metro. They're at 19600 East US 40 Highway. And again, the phone number is 816-675-4587. All right? Now, homes.
Tremendous people.
You talked about a home used to go for like $50,000. They're more expensive too. But the guy who has like the full range of houses, I follow him on Facebook, and it's amazing, the houses that he sells and the land that he sells. And these days, it seems like he's selling a lot of starter homes. And I think that's good for the future of this country, because you've got young people starting families who are moving from apartment living into their first home. Maybe not their forever home, but it's their first home. And you know how that goes. You grow your family a little bit, you fix up that house, and you sell it. And you take the profits and you go buy another house. Mm-hmm. That's the American dream. And I think it's still alive and well. You just need somebody on your side, a partner who can get you through it. And that's my buddy Michael Schroer, Schroer. And you can get him in his phone. His office number is 816-373-8400. His cell phone is 816-520-9342. And you're putting up one of his pending deals. That's what I love seeing. It's like pending or sold. And the awards you're scrolling through. He is definitely an award-winning elite real estate guy. That's why he works with RE/MAX Elite in Lee's Summit.
And that's why he works with Dale Carter's America, because we're elite podcasters.
He wanted to come to the place, where he was going to get his message out there. And our podcast, not to take too much credit for the campaign that's going on, but I don't know if you've looked at the numbers lately, but they are way up since this campaign started. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of interest going on right now, and people are trying to, see where I am on things and make sure I'm not some crazy loony person, that I am a centered...
that you just are co-hosted by a crazy loony person.
Pragmatic problem solver. Yes, I take no... I mean, if he gets out on a limb, that's on him. All right? Take me at my word and what I'm saying, all right? And we'll be just fine on that. Now, Kurt's doing a good job. Okay. So Hitler brings peace to the Middle East. Isn't that crazy? I mean, all the things that they have said about Donald Trump, it's just crazy to me. I put up a cartoon on the podcast page that shows, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and they're holding signs like Hitler and End of the World and all that stuff. And you've got Donald Trump there with a crow pie, I think is what it was. Is that what it is? Yeah, eat a little crow here. And it says Trump. Hillary's holding a sign that says Trump's like Hitler. She's got another one that says Trump will start World War III. And Obama's got one that says Trump's a fascist. And Trump's like, you want fries with that? And he's got like the dove of peace holding a banner.
He's in the McDonald's drive-through window.
Oh, that's what that is. Yeah. All right. Very cool. So they're all backpedaling here a little bit. He's actually getting credit from some people, left and right-leaning politicians in Israel, praising Trump for orchestrating all this. And we're going to go through kind of a timeline on what Donald Trump was able to do. But I got to tell you, just in terms of the travel, think about this. He's 78 years old, right? There are mornings, I'm 62, and I get up and I'm like, oh my God, I got to go do this again. And the hours he's logging and the time zones he's going through. I mean, there's no 4 o'clock lid anymore. That was a Joe Biden thing, right? Right. And Joe was like on the beach, feet up or whatever. Donald Trump is like 180 degrees the opposite way. Whether you love him or hate him, he's always in front of microphones, always bantering with the press. And Biden never did that. And what he went through in terms of all the travel and getting back for the Charlie Kirk thing for the Medal of Freedom and all the other things he's doing, it's hard to keep up with him. He's bombing Venezuelan boats now with drugs headed to the United States. How do you keep up with a guy like that? He's 78. When does he sleep?
And he still finds time to play golf too. Which,
I know. It's crazy. So we got the first video here of the left and right-leaning politicians in Israel praising Trump for orchestrating this.
This is the video from the White House, right?
I think so. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Stop that a second. Okay. I'm sorry. I meant to say a little bit more about this.
Okay.
Because the news media was doing their thing, and the White House put this out, and I think the White House press officer, whoever put this together, I mean, this is like a campaign piece. Yeah. He's never going to run again, but this would be a great campaign piece.
We gather on a day of profound joy, of soaring hope, of renewed faith, and above all, a day to give our deepest thanks to the Almighty God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It should now be clear to everyone throughout the region that decades of fomenting terrorism and extremism, jihadism and anti-Semitism have not worked. They've been a disaster. They've just killed. They've killed. From Gaza to Iran, those bitter hatreds have delivered nothing but misery, suffering, failure, and death. Through glory and heartache, we have built industries together, we have made discoveries together, we have confronted evil together, and we have waged war together, and perhaps, most beautifully of all, we have made peace together. And this week, against all odds, we have done the impossible and brought our hostages home. The God who once dwelled among his people in this city still calls us, in the words of Scripture, the turn from evil and do good. Together we've shown that peace is not just a hope that we can dream about, it's a reality. It's an incredible triumph for Israel and the world to have all of these nations working together as partners in peace. This is the day that people across the region and around the world have been working, striving, hoping, and praying for. With the historic agreement we've just signed, those prayers of millions have finally been answered.
Pretty good look.
It's definitely a well-produced video. I'll give them that.
Yeah. So we'll see if it holds. You know, and you know, people are saying, well, why didn't he get the Nobel Peace Prize? Well, the way the Nobel process works, it would be next year's Nobel Peace Prize, you know, if he's nominated for it, if he qualifies for it. Frankly, if this thing holds, we'll see if it holds. Democrats on Capitol Hill. We have a little video on that.
That's tremendous. And assuming if that sticks, that's profound. And I mean, how anyone couldn't celebrate that. So, I mean, on the anniversary after 10/7, so like those poor souls finally have a chance to maybe go home, and it's the first opportunity for enduring peace.
Making a deal and implementing it, you know, will be a challenge. So, but cautious optimism. I mean, good for him for getting it to this point. Let's hope it's real.
Obviously, this is huge. It's monumental, and to get the prisoners back after all this time means so much. Think of what it means to their families, it means to all of us, and to find a way to end this war. And it's really a big deal.
Yeah. So even James Carville, this one is fairly new. I just put this in for today. Even James Carville is praising Donald Trump. Who would have ever thought that?
Stopping this, bringing these hostages back. I don't know, you know, you could say, well, it may not last that long, but you know what? He did it, and I think he deserves some credit for it, right? They just do, and should do it. Look at all the credit that Jimmy Carter got for Camp David, that George H.W. Bush got when the Berlin Wall fell. But they're having a legitimate, you know, kind of moment in the sun.
Yeah. You know, we used to say that politics end at the water's edge, right? When a president, Republican or Democrat, went overseas, you know, and got something done, the other party didn't snipe at them. I'm not sure when that went away, but it went away at some point. And I'd like to get back to that. I mean, we're one country in America, and we can fight over things within this country. But when the president goes overseas and puts something together like this, that's a net plus for the world, I mean, we should be giving him credit. And Trump opponents, from the Clintons to Barack Obama, gave him credit for doing it. Kamala Harris praised this. She didn't mention him by name. I mean, are we splitting hairs when she said the president was able to pull this off?
Close enough.
Here's close enough.
Hillary clip.
It's a really significant first step, and I really commend President Trump and his administration, as well as Arab leaders in the region, for making the commitment to the 20-point plan and seeing a path forward for what's often called the day after. Most importantly, the conflict hopefully will end with the ceasefire. The hostages will be returned. And then the very hard work of rebuilding Gaza, of finding the kind of security that Israel and the Palestinians after Hamas deserve to have, moving forward with the other points in the plan to try to create an opportunity for Palestinians to have a better life and for Israel to have greater peace and security. I am very hopeful that we'll be able to see progress. Today's a good start, but we have to keep going from here.
Well, she's right. She's right about that. We got to keep going. It's a 20-point plan, and it's very complicated. And I guess other Arab nations are going to join together to kind of oversee security for Gaza. Hamas cannot be part of this. They're a terrorist organization. They can't be part of it.
I haven't really read it, but my understanding from what I've heard is that they have to leave, and then Israel and the Arab states will form a perimeter inside of Gaza or whatever. I don't know what they're planning on doing with it. I mean, I think ultimately they want the land back.
Well, it's a beautiful piece of real estate. I know Donald Trump looks at it and sees, like some lavish resort area.
Yeah.
We'll see if that comes to pass or not. Well, the funniest thing that I saw out of this that just made me laugh out loud, Joe Biden and Anthony Blinken, the former Secretary of State, releasing a statement congratulating Trump for getting their work across the finish line.
That's funny.
I mean, that's what they said with a straight face. He congratulated him for getting their work across the finish line. So I put together, and this is the
statement real quick. I'll just read it
for
you from Blinken. It starts with a clear and comprehensive post-conflict plan for Gaza. It's good that President Trump adopted and built on the plan the Biden administration developed after months of discussion with Arab partners, Israel, and the Palestinian Authority.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, way to go getting our work across the finish line. Way to go. So I put together kind of a timeline, and I did it in broad strokes. So, the folks who really want to nitpick every little point here, this is definitely in broad strokes. But this is the way I see it on how this whole mess started and how we got to where we are today. Okay? So when Biden became president, well, let's go back further. So Obama is president, and he puts together the Iran nuclear deal to bribe Iran not to make a nuclear bomb, right? We didn't pay them money necessarily, but we freed up money that, was held through sanctions or whatever. It was the Iran nuclear deal. And Iran was still working, plugging away, doing everything they weren't supposed to be doing, but we were bribing them nonetheless. Almost like Neville Chamberlain, right? We were appeasing the Iranians. Trump gets in, he says, screw that, and he does away with the deal. Biden comes in, he puts the deal back into place. Now, that freed up money, and you remember when they tried to sell us on the fact that Iran was only going to use that money for humanitarian purposes, for their people, feed their people. Do you remember what the Iranian president said?
Something to the effect of we can do whatever we want with it.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they did. They used their money to support Hamas and Hezbollah. Okay. So Hamas uses funds from Iran to launch the October 7th attack on Israel. And for Israelis, that was their 9/11. That was a big deal. Thousands of people were killed. People were taken hostage. They were outraged, as they should be. Biden, who's still president when this is going on, ties Netanyahu's hands, always blaming Israel, always putting pressure on them to wrap it up. And obviously Netanyahu felt like Trump was going to be the better partner. Trump gets elected. The first thing he does is he rescinds the Iran nuclear deal. He starts working again with neighboring countries. Remember when his first term was going on, he was building the Abraham Accords. Remember that? He was working with countries who have historically been among the countries that said they don't think Israel has a right to exist. He put together the Abraham Accords, trying to build peace, trying to build bridges. Okay, so he goes back to working on that. He takes the cuffs off Israel. And he puts tremendous pressure on Hamas. And then the coup de grace is he bombs the Iranian nuclear site, which further sidelines and isolates Iran. There weren't a lot of countries that came running to the rescue for Iran after we sent those stealth bombers over there and set back their nuclear program. He scolds Netanyahu after Israel bombs a Hamas location inside of Qatar. Forces Bibi to apologize to Qatar in a call from the Oval Office. So I think Trump was actually doing a good job trying to hold the reins on both sides throughout this process. He gets Hamas to the table, orchestrates dozens of countries in a peace summit and signing in Egypt after getting Israel's highest honor. And yet some of you with Trump derangement syndrome would still call him Hitler and a Nazi, which is just complete horse shit. That sounds like he was building on Biden's work, doesn't it? That sounds like the framework that they put in place, right? It is a complicated plan, lots of opportunities to fail, but I think at this point in time, in this point in history, we should be optimistic. And now he wants to start working on the Russia-Ukraine thing. He's going to meet with Vladimir Putin again. And, Ukraine's over there. They want offensive weapons to go after Russia. And Trump's going to have that card in his back pocket. I think, Vladimir Putin would be wise to wrap up that war as well. But that's going to be the next hill for 78-year-old, full of energy, Donald Trump to tackle. And I like his chances.
We'll see.
Yeah. We will definitely see. Royal Roofing and Solar. These are the experts that put the roof on my house. They repaired it at one point because I've got like a multi-layer roof, and at one point a part had collapsed into a guest room that we really never go into. I got to tell you, that is really an eye-opening experience when you open a door that you haven't opened in a while and you see the ceiling caved in on a bed. That is not a good day.
For sure.
But Austin Watterson and his company got that repaired, and then when it was time, when the old shake shingle roof needed to be replaced, they did the rest of the roof. They can do it in stages. They could do it all at once. It starts with an inspection. Get them on top of your roof. It's great to know the health of your roof. If you don't know what the roof looks like before a storm, how in the world can you prove to an insurance company that the damage that's up there is from a recent storm? Insurance companies, as Austin has told me, have tightened their guidelines on what they agree to, so it's very important to have evidence of your roof before the storm hits. Royal Roofing and Solar, they'll come out and provide you with a free roof health report. And you know what? You might be better off getting that new roof. The offset on your insurance rates because of the changes in rules will put you ahead of the game. And Austin can explain that to you. They're not going to come by and say, hey, we can get your insurance company to pay for this. You're going to get a free roof. They're not going to lie to you. And there's too many liars in this business. Go with somebody that I trust, and that's Austin Watterson at roofbyroyal.com, 816-540-7057. Fantastic folks who will do a really good job getting your roof in shape. We've talked about Funhouse Pizza. Jim Dingman, great guy. 2 locations, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. That's where we'll be on October 28th with the kickoff to the campaign. And then 50 Highway in Lee Summit. Great pizza, cold drinks, fun atmosphere. We really appreciate him being a part of our podcast. Okay, the government shutdown, as we're doing this, continues. And what I just saw before we sat down to tape is it's likely to go on through the weekend again because, nobody's budging, right? The Republicans want a clean CR, which basically the Democrats have agreed to at several points in time. It's just another CR. I'm not a big fan of the CR because I'd like them to be grown-ups and put an actual budget together. But since they haven't done that since 1996, I'm not going to, immediately dream that this group of clowns can sit down and hammer out a budget. So a CR is the next best thing. 17% of the government is still shut down. And you know what? I'm okay with that. As a conservative, I'm okay with that. Because if the government's shut down, they can't be spending money, right? They can't be putting programs in place and taking more and more of our money. The issue is the same. We talked about the clean CR, keep spending levels where they are prior to 10-1. The Democrat proposal calls for $1.5 trillion in more spending for Obamacare subsidies. $1.5 trillion. This is why I was so against the government getting in the health insurance business. Because we've talked about this. When the government gets involved, what happens? Two things. Things cost more and they're less efficient. And they have about wrecked our healthcare system with Obamacare. It's covering, I think, 23 million people. Ask those 23 million people who are on Obamacare if it's cheaper than what they had with their company. Mm-hmm. If it's easier to get in to see a doctor. If they get to keep their own doctor. I think the answer's would shock you on that. And then, of course, the Republicans are going around, and there's this big hullabaloo because Republicans are saying that Democrats want to use tax dollars for health care for illegal aliens. And the Republicans put up some slide. We put it up on the podcast page, right? And all that slide said was it didn't cover illegal immigrants. And I've seen some video on that. And so I've done a little bit of deep diving on this. There's something on the White House page referring to the WFTCA, okay? That is the Tax Cut Act, and all the places in it where Democrats want to stick spending federal money on illegal immigrants. It's sourced. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not telling you to take my word for it. I'm saying go look at it. That's the slide that they're talking about. But when you look at that, that basically says illegal aliens are not eligible. Mm-hmm. So what am I missing here? The Republicans have been all over this.
I don't know. I'm not an expert on this, but if we know one thing, I mean, they're going to try and get the backdoor way to do all this stuff. I mean, they're giving them subsidized housing.
Right.
Maybe it's a state and local issue where they're, forcing it through that way. I don't really know, but they certainly want it.
Well, look up the WFTCA and how that funds illegals. I know there's a California exception where they're finding a way to fund through Medicaid illegals who are going to emergency rooms. I mean, and I hate that. I hate that those people need to get health care, but they shouldn't be in this country in the first place.
Right. Yeah, this is I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but this is the White House press release on this. So you can just look up WFTCA illegal aliens, and it'll come up, whitehouse.gov.
Yeah.
The Democrat funding proposal spends enough on health care for illegal immigrants and other non-citizens to fund the entire children's health insurance program for a decade. So they have some comparison charts and points and some things like that.
But here's the thing. You take that off the table, and I want everybody to go look for that, because right now the Democrats are rubbing Republicans' noses in it, saying, you don't know what you're talking about. I think that makes the case for that. But even if you take that out of there, what they want to reopen the government is $1.5 trillion for Obamacare subsidies, which just proves the point that it was never going to work. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it'll work as long as we keep shoveling money into it. And that's typical liberalism. It's like expand the government wherever you can, and it ends up costing us a lot more, and it's less efficient. And Obamacare certainly fits that bill. And, when we had Tom Becca on last time, a couple of things from that interview, if you sat through the whole thing, because it got a little tense, but he asked me to come up with 3 things that I didn't agree with Trump on in terms of policy. And I don't disagree with him on policy, because he's doing what I voted for him to do, and I want the government to do less. That's the essence of conservatism, right? Let's get our federal government shrunk back down, right? So go back and watch that interview and you'll see where we clashed on a few things like that. But I don't think we should be in the insurance business. I think that government ought to stick to what it does best. And again, I make kind of a joke about this. I think there's about 5 things the government ought to be involved in, and insurance is not one of them. They should have opened up competitive bidding between the states. They never did that. Had they done that, when the private sector gets involved, I mean, the liberals hate the private sector. They don't. They hate it. They hate capitalism. They want the government to do more. That's what this whole Mamdani thing is about. You wait and see if he wins the election in New York, what New York is going to end up looking like. We saw a little microcosm of it in Kansas City. The city was running a grocery store. How'd that work out? Mamdani wants those all over New York.
Yeah, it made national news.
Yeah. So we'll see how that all works out. We do have a great breakdown, though, which features one of my favorite senators breaking down what's going on Capitol Hill.
Each day, our case to fix health.
That's not him, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
That's not my favorite senator.
Stronger and stronger.
Right.
Because families are opening their letters, showing how high their premiums will climb if Republicans get their way.
Wouldn't be so sure about that. President Trump definitely not taking this sensationalist party seriously.
And the problem is we really don't know who the hell is leading the Democrats. You have this AOC, I don't know her at all, but I watched her the other day. She said, well, if they want, they could come to my office. The only one that challenged her actually was Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy's not looking too good. I don't know what happened to Nancy, but she's not looking great. Oh, I didn't know she was in leadership, but she's taking Hakeem Jeffries' place, and Schumer's afraid that she's going to run against him. And right now, I don't know. He can change. Life is crazy, right?
Joining us now, Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Senator, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And this does beg the question, why is Senator Schumer seem to be so confident? Possibly it's because there's been some reporting now in the Wall Street Journal that some GOP lawmakers, including Senator Thune, Leader Thune, are telling the White House they're concerned about the moves being made by Russ Vought when it comes to whether it's taking away back pay from furloughed workers, getting rid of governments, cutting programs, and that he's saying maybe back off that rhetoric because that's helping the Democrats. Your response?
Well, Dagan, first of all, this is, Leader Thune has been very clear. He's walking step by step. And
is
with
this your
the White
favorite
House,
senator?
there's no daylight between us, between the House, or
Mark
the White
Wayne
House.
Mullen.
I have not
Is that
heard
his first name, Mark
that
Wayne?
conversation at all from Leader Thune.
It
I've
might
talked
be.
to him,
First and middle.
several times every day. In fact, I just got him having a
Looks like
conversation
it's
with
his
him.
first name.
We are 100% in the same boat, rowing the same direction, saying we're not giving an inch. The federal government has to be reopened. If the Democrats actually want to negotiate, then they got to open the government
decide
on the bill
on Mark
that they've
or
already
Wayne.
voted for 5 other times. Keep in mind, this is a clean CR. You know that. They voted for this last year in September. They voted for this in December. They voted for this in January. They voted for it in March. What has changed now is that, you got a career politician in Chuck Schumer, who in 1996, Dagan, he was sitting right here, because I'm sitting just out the House chamber right now because where the camera location was. He was just in this chamber right beside me, and he said that we can't give programs, we can't give assistance to illegals because if we do, it incentivizes them to come through. Well, that was 30 years ago when I was still in high school, and now that career politician has changed tunes. He's holding American hostage because he's wanting to give all the illegals free health care on the taxpayer dime in a tune of $1.5 trillion. And so when you have career politicians as leaders, this is what happens. They think they're winning because they're putting pain on the American people, and their base that is now being controlled by Marxists and jihadists are liking it. But the American people, who cares about? And by the way, the ones that Russ is having to furlough, the Democrats are saying that they're fighting for them, but they're the reasons why they're in this position, because they knew when they shut the government down and we went into a Schumer shutdown that they literally gave the authority to President Trump to deem essential and non-essential employees. So
right.
This is their fault.
That was Cheryl, by the way. Senator Mullin.
Oh, Cheryl, sorry. I'm so sorry, Cheryl.
No, you don't have a return camera there. I know that. But she sounds like an adult who learned to speak English properly, and I sound like I still live, up in the holler.
Well, you and I talk the same because I'm from Eastern Oklahoma.
But the thing about all the Democrats have to do is extend, as you pointed out, the funding levels for 7 weeks. Our military next week is going to miss a paycheck. Schumer and his ilk are okay with that. Today, there are 7 airports or FAA facilities reporting staffing shortages for the evening, including Washington, D.C., Boston, and the Chicago Tower and Newark. They're okay with that. They're okay putting, and this whole nonsense about the millions of people who are going to lose nothing. It's about 1.5 million people who are rich, who are going to lose subsidies, which happens at the end of the year. That has nothing to do with this shutdown. And the reason premiums are going up right now is because of Obamacare and the boondoggle morass horror show that it is. So he can shove that where the sun doesn't shine, Senator.
Yeah, and Dagan, let's unpack a lot of that. This premium tax that they're talking about, this was to help COVID victims, right? This was during COVID. This was never designed, this thing that they're saying is going to cause the premiums to increase, this was always designed to be temporary. The Democrats were in control. Biden had the White House, Chuck Schumer had the Senate, and Nancy Pelosi had the House at the time when they voted on this to be temporary. They could have made it permanent at the time if they wanted to. They always knew this was going to expire. So this is just baloney what they're talking about. And then when you start talking about what is happening with military pay, we have to actually open the government up right now, because if we don't vote on it by midnight tonight to reopen it, the checks that are supposed to go out on the 15th isn't going to happen. And in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, right now, they're starting a food bank for active duty service members, and it's all because of the Chuck Schumer shutdown.
Yep.
All right, we can pause it right there. The military did get paid, by the way. That's a little dated reference there. But the issue going on at airports, and that's 2 areas of my 5 that I would make sure, right, that planes take off and land properly, and that our military gets paid. That's 2 of my 5. Yeah, and I don't even know that I can get to 5 things that the government ought to be doing. But those are reasons why we should have the government open. But as long as it's closed, they can't really do a lot of mischief, can they? To be continued, and it will go through the weekend because they're going to take a long weekend again, right? They're going to be gone Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Vacation. They got 3 legislative days in this week, right? And they're still getting paid. Mm-hmm. We've talked about that. They're still getting paid.
Working hard 3 days a week.
Yeah. So as society breaks down, hopefully not where you live, but you never know when somebody's going to break into your house or when your family is going to be threatened. You need Clay Como shooters in your life. 69 Highway in Clay Como. Do you have a firearm at your house? If you do you know how to use it, right? Is it the right firearm to protect you and your family? Get to Clay Como shooters and find the right firearm. Maybe you've got the right firearm. Let them train you on it. They train law enforcement. They are former law enforcement. They know what they're doing, and they can set up scenarios for you so that when something happens at your house, you know what to do. Call 911. But in the time it takes for the police to respond to that 911 call, a lot of different things could happen. So get to Clay Como shooters. They're a full-service firearms dealer. They buy guns. They've got an indoor shooting range. That's one of the areas they can train you in. They have affordable pricing. They're not a big box store. They're a neighborhood business. They're really good guys looking out for the community. So protect yourself and your family. It's on you. Find the right firearm and get trained on it at Clay Como Shooters, 69 Highway in Clay Como. And again, you can reach the guys, call Herb up and let him set you up. He's a great trainer. 816-452-4867. It can mean the difference between life and death. Medicare Simplified KC is another one of our fine sponsors, KIRK DORIS. And this is a very important time in the Medicare calendar, and that's why we turn to him today on the podcast. Kirk, thanks for being here today. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
You know, I know this is a crazy time for you. This is the annual Medicare annual enrollment period going on through December 7th. And you were just telling me that your phones are going crazy. What's it like at your office?
Dale, this is my 13th annual enrollment for Medicare, and we have never seen anything like this. There's several factors that are causing a great deal of disruption in Kansas City this year. North Kansas City has announced that they are going to be exclusive for Medicare Advantage with a sole provider of Humana. So if you have a Medicare Advantage plan and you utilize either North Kansas City or what was formerly known as Meritos Health, they're changing that to NKC Health. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan, the only plan you can have and utilize those sources is a Humana Medicare Advantage plan. So that eliminates everybody who had a Medicare Advantage plan with Aetna, WellCare, United Healthcare. It's a huge, huge disruption. And then yesterday, we got a phone call from Aetna stating that their contract negotiations with St. Luke's are ongoing, but St. Luke's would be sending out a letter to their clientele indicating that Aetna will no longer be accepted next year in St. Luke's facilities.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of disruption going on there, and you got people who are 65 or older or who are approaching 65, maybe going into Medicare for the very first time. What is it that you can do at Medicare Simplified KC to simplify all this for them?
Well, number one, we can help them go through the enrollment process with Medicare itself, explain the various parts of Medicare to them so that they have that thorough understanding, and then help them find solutions, whether it be a Medicare supplement policy, a prescription drug plan, or a Medicare Advantage plan to fill the voids of Medicare.
Yeah. And you don't get paid by the people that you talk to. Explain how that works.
We're not paid directly by the clienteles that we service. We're paid through commissions by the insurance products that we bring to the table and our clients select to fill their various needs. We're even seeing carriers this year manipulate the placement of people into plans based on commissions paid. In short, for instance, I moved a current client with a carrier from one plan to another plan next year because the new plan that they came out with was a better fit for the client. But the carrier doesn't like in-house moves. They don't like you to move from one plan to another plan with the same carrier. So to keep that from happening or to discourage that from happening, they are now taking commissions away from the broker. Now, we don't play that game at Medicare Simplified KC. We will always do what's right for the client, regardless of the financial compensation to us. But other agents or brokers may not feel that way. A lot of people say they don't like to work for free.
Yeah. Nobody does.
No. But it's carriers manipulating
I get
the
that.
marketplace.
Yeah. So, a couple of terms here, and you know the difference on these things, because I had an interview last week with a guy who leans more toward the left, and we were talking about the government shutdown and Medicare versus Medicaid, and I think he was conflating those two things. See if I'm right on this. Medicare is something that you've paid for throughout your career, right? It's taken out of your paycheck. And so when you get to 65, you've paid for that. You have a right to it. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And Medicaid is something that's more the safety net. Maybe if you're disabled or something like that, that's not Medicare. That's not something that you're paying for out of your paycheck. Am I right about that?
That's correct. It's funded. It's a federal state program that assists low income or disabled people. It's basically income based.
Okay.
With healthcare needs.
Yeah. Well, I've always said we should have a safety net in this country, but not a down feather pillow bed for people who just don't want to work. Right?
Absolutely.
So we're on the same page on that. And you're not dealing with Medicaid, you're dealing with Medicare, and it's two separate things.
but you can have both. We deal with clients who are both Medicare eligible and receive Medicaid, and there are special programs for those people, which are called dual special needs plans, that service that segment.
Which is why we have you on the podcast, because you're smart on all this stuff, and I am not. Now, you talked about some things that are happening locally with different hospitals and providers. Are there like highlights from changes because of the big, beautiful bill that affect you?
It's all about money. It's all about what providers are getting paid. There were some changes last year with prescription drug coverage where the donut hole went away, and a lot of the cost of prescription drugs was placed back on the health insurance companies. And there's some compensation and adjustments in the marketplace going on to absorb that. It's always every year there's changes.
Yeah. Which is why you have the Medicare annual enrollment period, which is going on through December 7th. Now, at the risk of making your phones blow up even more, how can people contact you during this period to get their stuff straight?
Well, the phone calls are the best, or the website at MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. You can info there. You can send us an email message. The phone is always best. We have a lot of clients that are bringing us referral clients this year. It's really noteworthy this year. We're seeing more of those referrals come in because of the services that we provide, that the other people say, I don't even know who my broker is. It was so long ago that I've seen him. We haven't heard from him since.
Yeah.
And the way that you take care of our friends, we want to see that kind of service.
Well, that's good, right?
Yeah.
So we'll give you that phone number. It's 816-701-6661. Kirk Doris with Medicare Simplified KC, taking the very complex issue of Medicare and weaving in Medicaid and also supplemental plans. I mean, I'm still like 3 years out, and my mind is almost exploding just thinking about that. I think it's probably too early for me to set an appointment with you, right? Because I'm still like 3 years out.
It is. Lord knows what it's going to look like 3 years from now. And if people call that 816-701-6661, we have 4 agents here in the office, and
right.
Any of us can assist you and be glad to do so.
All right. Well, good luck with all of that. Time is clicking here. As we record this, we're into day 2 of the Medicare annual enrollment period, and it will only go through December 7th. Kirk, we appreciate you being on the podcast. Did I hit all the highlights that we should talk about today?
You did. It's a trying year, but we're working 7 days a week. We'll get it done.
All right. We'll get through it. Remember, if you can't come to him, he'll come to you, right?
I just got back from Harrisonville, Missouri.
All right. There you go. He's Kirk Doris with Medicare Simplified KC and MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. Best of luck to you. Stay in touch and let us know how this is working out for you.
We'll do it. Thanks again.
You bet. All right. And of course, that was about Medicare, Medicaid, and all that. You have other insurance needs out there. Your home, your car insurance, pet insurance. There's all kinds of insurance, and Bob Watson can get you through that. In fact, he and Kirk Doris are really good friends. Bob's the one who brought us Kirk, so they work kind of hand in glove there. Bob Watson is your State Farm agent, my State Farm agent, for the last 30-plus years. He's been serving Eastern Jackson County for over 50 years. 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life. Bundle your home and car insurance and save even more. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. We leave you today with a moment of KAH-MAH. Now, you're from the East Coast, right? More or less?
Yes.
So you know how, it's not karma, it's KAH-MAH.
Yeah, we say all kinds of things weird.
It's KAH-MAH. Remember, no one is above the law.
Today, justice has been served. Today, we prove that no one is above the law.
New York Attorney General Letitia James welcomed a judge's ruling Friday night, ordering former U.S. President Donald Trump to pay $354.9 million in penalties for fraudulently overstating his net worth to dupe lenders.
For years, Donald Trump engaged in deceptive business practices and tremendous fraud. Donald Trump falsely, knowingly inflated his net worth by billions of dollars to unjustly enrich himself, his family, and to cheat the system.
Rat bastard.
That's another.
That's another. Nah, you don't have to. I mean, it makes the point because when she ran for New York AG, she ran on a platform of what? Was it about getting criminals off the streets in New York? No. She ran on the platform of, I'm going to get Donald Trump. And I couldn't find this video. I know it exists out there. When she was fawning over Trump Tower and could not wait to get Trump Tower and take it away from Donald Trump. Well, you know what they say. No one is above the law, including you, Letitia.
A big story News Nation continues to cover right now is the indictment of New York State Attorney General Letitia James. She faces the possibility of spending years behind bars if she ends up getting convicted in all this. She faces 2 charges right now, one for bank fraud and one for making a false statement to a financial institution. The Department of Justice filed this indictment against her, and according to the Department of Justice, James bought a home in Virginia, claiming it would be her primary residence, all in order to receive a better interest rate on her loan. James has very much denied the allegations against her, and she's described this indictment against her as a weaponization of the Department of Justice. Take a listen.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General.
James became a big enemy of President Donald Trump back in 2023 when she led a civil fraud case against him, accusing him of inflating his net worth, all to ensure better tax and insurance benefits. She ended up winning a $500 million judgment against the president, but that was later thrown out by an appeals court. Now, though, it's James who's facing this big legal battle ahead. She's going to be back in court in Virginia in 2 weeks. And again, she faces the possibility of spending years behind bars if she gets convicted in this case.
You know, I'm shocked that she didn't pull the race card.
She will. She probably has,
yeah.
Or she will.
But, you know, she did say it's weaponization of the justice system. Does she hear herself say that out loud? Does she not remember what they put Donald Trump through in deep blue jurisdictions, New York, Washington, D.C., and Atlanta?
Yep.
I mean, you know, so here's the thing, though. I think this could be a net positive for Letitia James. I really do. Because look what happened to Donald Trump. You did all this to him, and he won the presidency, right?
Yeah, I mean, if she gets through it relatively unscathed, you know, these people never go to jail.
Right.
She's not going to go to jail. She'll get some kind of sweetheart deal. She'll plea down to something where she'll have to pay a fine, and then it'll be over. Everyone will forget about it. And then because she's been persecuted, quote unquote, she'll get some kind of $1 million deal on MSNBC, or she'll get a promotion to a big law firm or something like that.
I'm thinking she writes a book.
Or a book, yes.
And this will help her sell books.
The book, definitely the book. Definitely the book, yeah.
It'll help. I mean, you know, James Comey, same deal. He's not going to jail. Yeah. This is just a process that's going to play out because they didn't have clean hands either. And at the end of the day, they're going to write books, and they're going to make a lot of money, and I'll bet not one of them thanks Donald Trump for the experience.
Yeah,
you
right.
think?
No.
All right, until next week, this is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.